Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning and welcome to Encounter. I'm your host today, Joe Sellepack. Millions of people in the United States today are incarcerated within prisons. We are the largest developed nation that has people in prisons at the moment. And this has presented us with a lot of difficulties as far as people that are leaving prisons coming back into society. Many of them have been in there for many years. They've been in the system for a long time. And as a result of being in the system for a long time, they face many barriers as they leave prison, coming back into society. So how difficult is it for people who are leaving prison, coming into society again, to find employment, to regain their life? How hard is that?
I would say it's an insurmountable challenge for individuals who are coming out of prison and re-entering into society. They have quite a few barriers to overcome, and employment, being unemployed, is a huge barrier, and there are barriers within that.
Right.
So it is a very overwhelming obstacle for people.
Yeah. Have any insight?
So I believe, in the work I've been doing for the last 9.5 years, that housing and stabilization, getting yourself reacclimated to the technology of today, and then on top of that, reestablishing family relationships, trying to pick up where you leave off, and ultimately, exactly correct, employment is the #1 precursor, I believe, to why people go back to prison, because they don't have any money coming in to support their family to pick up.
Now, my guests today are Greg Johnson, who's the Reverend Dr. Greg Johnson, who's the pastor at Cornerstone Community Church in Endicott. Been there several times. Beautiful congregation, lots of nice people there.
Thank you.
And Jeff Pryor. Now, Jeff, you have an interesting title, so why don't you go ahead and tell us?
All right, thank you. So I'm the Director of Reentry Services for Broome County. I'm actually employed by an amazing nonprofit, Southern Tier AIDS program, for the last 9.5 years. And I do contract work with the Broome County Mental Health Department, helping men and women come back into the society as they're released from prison and the Broome County Jail.
Now, part of the work that the reason that you both are working together is because of the Cornerstone Group.
Yes.
And the Cornerstone Group does what?
The Cornerstone Group is a group of ecumenical and other agencies that have come together to provide a network of support for people who are reentering society. And we've been collaborating with Jeff and the reentry program for the last 7 years in doing that.
Yeah, it's been a long-standing group that I started. I think some of the people that started there came out of like a Just Faith group that was meeting at one point in time too, I think. It's interesting. I've been around long enough to begin seeing all the beginning parts of these things. So they've been doing a lot of good work. And so, when, like you were saying, when a person comes out of prison, reconnecting and not only reconnecting with society, but also with family and other kinds of things, there are lots of barriers that are a part of that. But I would think that one of the biggest issues that they face is probably that the networks of behavior or the networks of people that they had before they actually went into jail are what led them in some cases to going into jail. And so when they come out of jail, they may not even have a network to kind of look at. So they're really kind of developing something from scratch at that point.
And that's true. You have two cases. You have people who are going to jail and prison that have a very strong network, and they are coming from very stable communities. Unfortunately, they have either done the wrong thing or had a misstep. And then you have people who have a network of support that's not very positive. But even still, when people come out of jail, when they come out of prison, there's a lot of tension around that network, and trying to reframe your life, trying to put your life back together is challenging. And one of the things that we've done with the Cornerstone Group in collaboration with the Reentry program is develop a coaching program for persons who are coming out. And we partner, it's individual. Each person that's coming out is provided with a coach for a year. Pre-release, it starts with pre-release 3 months, and then for the next 9 months after release. And so these coaches walk with these individuals, providing support, providing encouragement, providing an objective sounding board to help them sound out what they are trying to do and help navigate them towards goals that they want to achieve. And a lot of times that support is key to ensuring that a person is successful. I think naturally people want to be successful in life. It's having the tools to do that.
Right. And so how many mentors do you currently have, and do you have a need for additional mentors? We
do. We have a huge need for mentors, men and women, coaches, and I can be contacted through the church, 607-239-4127. We have trained over 33 yes. Coaches to date. We are the only program that's sanctioned to do this in New York State by the Department of Justice, Corrections, and Community Services.
Now, Jeff, is part of your job training the coaches?
Yes. So Dr. Johnson and I have been trained by the Department of Corrections and Community Services Volunteer Services Division, and we have been credentialed to deliver this training to the volunteers in our community that want to participate. What we found is when somebody does not receive assistance upon release from incarceration, around 66% of those folks will end up back in jail or prison within 3 years. When an individual receives reentry assistance, in Broome County, our program has about a 30% recidivism rate of folks that go back. And what Dr. Johnson and I have found is with our coaching program, when we actually build a relationship pre-release while they're still incarcerated in the prison, when they come home, only 20% of those folks will return to incarceration within 3 years.
So this reentry thing has been this reentry project has been really an important part in trying to help people and recidivating, coming back into prison. Mm-hmm. So so you want to tell us a little bit about the event that's coming up? One of the things that you're currently working on? Yes,
what we're currently working on right now is an employment first conference in September 26th at the Holiday Inn. The Employment First Conference is an conference for employers, businesses, to come together to learn more about how to employ people who have barriers and some of the challenges that they face, but not only that, some of the incentives that are available for employers to hire individuals who have barriers. And along with that, on October 24th at the Broome County Library, just a month later, we're having a job fair with employers who will have access to a ready pool of individuals who are looking for jobs.
So are you currently looking for sponsors for the event too?
Currently we are looking for sponsors for the event on September 26th, and we have categories of sponsorship, and if anyone would like to sponsor, they can just contact me with the information that's made available. And sponsors are able to be provided with a particular package. Each sponsor has access to advertising and entry into a trip vacation provided by Card & Travel. It's a $3,000 plus vacation, 7-night, 8 days vacation to a resort in Mexico. And so that's going to be raffled off at the conference. I think one of the employers last year, this is the second year we're doing this. This is our second year. We received overwhelming positive encouragement from the conference last year and the information that was shared. And out of that conference, employers that had not hired people with these substantial barriers hired individuals out of that conference. And so we consider that a plus and something that we want to work towards improving.
And so they can reach you by calling 607-239-4127. That's is that the church's phone number? Yeah,
that's the church's number, or email me at RevGregJohnson@hotmail.com. And also, any sponsors who sponsor, their sponsorship is tax deductible.
Now, if somebody wanted to, was listening and they think that they would like to coach or help be trained to be a coach, would they contact you, Greg, or would they contact you, Jeff?
They can contact either one of us for coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And so that information, if they wanted to email you, Jeff, how would they do that?
They could email me at jpryor@co.broome.ny.us.
All right, thanks. So with 200 million people currently in the prison system in the United States, and as you had indicated earlier, Greg, when we were talking before the show, the United States is the largest developed nation, has the largest amount of incarcerated individuals. So when you have that many people in there, there's a reason for that. And then does that reason that they go into jail carry over with how people are treated as they leave jail?
The reason for entering.
Well, we have, it would, look at how large our prison population is. There's got to be an attitude about crime that leads us to having that many people in jail to begin with.
In our culture, there's a stigma with that comes with being incarcerated, whether you're in jail or prison. There's a stigma with that comes with incarceration, and so individuals who are released and they haven't been convicted of anything, they go to jail, but still there's something on their record that they've been arrested. There's a stigma with that. When they go through the penal system, serve their time, even after having served their time, they're still judged, and they carry that. I heard an interview with a young lady who had been released for over 15 years, and she said that her sentence still continues, and it's like a scarlet letter that she carries. And so people who are released are treated as if they are still criminals.
And I know that this is part of why you're so involved in it, is because of the disproportionate amount of people of color and minorities that are in our prisons versus versus people who can maybe even do the same crime who come from a different color or that are white or something like that, and they then those people get off, and black people and people of color get put into prison, and so then we end up with incarceration in many cases because they're black or they're a minority. So when that attitude is present, racism is present before a person goes into jail. Racism is also a part of the treatment that the person receives when they leave jail too, and it would exacerbate it, I would think. Even make it like a different, like layers of problems that a person falls into at that point.
It makes it very challenging, and there are layers to it. When individuals are arrested, and convicted and go through the penal system, race plays a very significant role from the point of arrest to the sentencing to the way they're treated in the penal system and as they come out. Race plays a huge role in that.
And so when we're looking even at developing mentors, how important is that understanding in a coach?
I think it's very important to understand that everybody's different, and that what we think about ourselves or expect of ourselves isn't what we should expect of another person. So really bonding with your mentee pre-release and understanding where they're coming from, what their point of view is, how did they grow up, what's different between them and me as a coach, and then really working from their perspective. And when I think we take their perspective into account, we could assist them to make decisions that they may not have otherwise thought could be made.
The coaches are encouraged to be non-biased. We encourage coaches to leave their stuff at home. So the biggest challenge to being a coach is resisting imposing your views on an individual. We coach to help them frame a life for themselves, to think for themselves, to begin to plan and establish goals for themselves, because the coach is not always going to be there. And so we empower people to stand and to decide and to begin to frame their own life for themselves. And that's the very powerful piece a coach can have for an individual.
My guests today are the Reverend Dr. Greg Johnson and Mr. Jeffrey Pryor, Esquire, who are talking with us about a conference for employers that's coming up in October.
September
Yeah.
26th is a conference at the Binghamton Holiday Inn from 9 until 3. We are inviting employers to come to hear about the information that we have that will help employers with the challenges of hiring people who have challenging backgrounds or who've been incarcerated. There's a lot of information that's available for employers, and we want to make sure that employers have that information.
And so it's not only that they can get a tax deduction by sponsoring the event, but that by hiring someone, there are actually incentives that the state offers and other incentives that an employer would have to be able to hire somebody who's been incarcerated.
Yeah. And not only that, but they have access to Broome County Workforce, who's developing a certificate program for people who have come out of prison with the collaboration of companies. And so there's a lot of information that we want to share. There's a lot of information that employers can have. And the more information you have, the better informed decisions that you can make, especially when it comes to hiring people.
One other component I think that's important is that the employers now have a resource that they may not have otherwise had by calling Dr. Johnson at the Cornerstone Church or myself or one of my team at the Reentry program here in Broome County. Because a lot of times when conflicts arise, the person that's just as involved may not know how to react to the situation. Right. And now the employer can work with a team of folks supporting this individual to help keep them employed and work through minor issues that you or I may not even think were an issue.
Now, I want to shift gears just a little bit, and I want to ask a theological question. So, why is it that churches should be involved in this kind of work?
Churches should be involved in this type of work because it's a mandate, Joe, to love thy neighbor as thyself. The gospel teaches that we are here to care for this humanity. Not only that, if you are a believer, theologically, as fundamental as loving your Creator is to love the human race, to do justice, to be kind, and to walk with our brothers and sisters. That's a mandate for us as believers. And theologically, to help cultivate a more positive atmosphere. It involves working together. It involves helping people who need help. It involves helping our neighbor, and our neighbors just happen to be people who have been previously incarcerated.
And it's interesting when you go through Matthew 25, I love that, that portion of Scripture. The Council of Churches has often been called Matthew 25. You could actually use that as our name. That's kind of what we do. And one of the things is, it's the last judgment, and Jesus is shepherd, and he's involved in shifting between the sheep and the goats. And he says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was sick, you visited me. When I was in prison,
you came to me.
You came to me.
Yeah.
And that it isn't like there isn't like if I'm in prison. It's when I'm in prison.
And so in essence, what Jesus is saying is Jesus says that which you've done to the least of me, them, you've done also unto me. And so Jesus is saying that I am in every human being. I am a part of the human race. And so we cannot treat people differently because they've made decisions that landed them in prison. We ought to be treating them with loving kindness, and we ought to be trying to help them. And I would encourage churches, I'd like to encourage churches to come alongside us. If you have people who want to be coaches, if you have people who want to be a part of the Cornerstone Group, I encourage people to come alongside us and do this work.
So we're talking about an event that's coming up for employers in September, and so not only is it, we were talking about this earlier too. Nonprofits are an employer in our area, and churches are employers in our area too. How important would it be for congregations to be involved in trying to help people gain access to good jobs like that?
Churches, it's important for churches to be involved. It's important for nonprofits to be involved. We are a community, and we're here together. And churches are part of the community, the fabric of the community that helps support and undergird people. And so when churches are a part of this conference, they show the support that's needed to help people who have been previously incarcerated, who have barriers. And they also get access to information that they may not otherwise have as employers. And so there's a benefit for churches as well as nonprofit organizations to be a part of the conference on September 26th at the Holiday Inn.
And so they can help sponsor as well.
They can help sponsor as well. Last year we had several churches that came alongside us and sponsored for the conference last year. And sponsorship provides or helps the conference to provide a free conference for employers. And that's all we're trying to do, to invite employers to come to this conference for a day free of charge, where you can get information that will help you with your business, help your business employ people, and in turn help the community. Because if you have a thriving business and you're employing people and employment rate goes up, the community benefits as a whole.
Now, how many people are we talking about in Broome County who would be previously incarcerated?
On an annual basis, Broome County sees close to 400 individuals returning from a New York State correctional facility, and pretty close to the same numbers returning from the Broome County Jail. The one nice benefit of participating in our reentry program is we have a justice-involved employment readiness course that we teach over 20 hours, which prepares the folks that have come home how to interview, how to speak about their crime, how to fill out an application correctly. And so when we do have the job fair in October, they will be present, ready, and willing to take on these jobs and interview at a skill that they've not had previously.
So, and then that would all be something that they would find through as well as the coaching that kind of goes along with that. So
absolutely.
Or is that part of the coaching requirements too, or?
Well, the coaches are there to stand alongside and assist the people as they return from incarceration and to help them make the decisions that they want to make to better their lives. The employment readiness course is prepared for by our program, and we all work together as a team. Our community is a team. The churches are the backbone of our community, and as a team environment, and we're looked at more as like the coaches. And then all of the team pulls together, we call some of the plays, and they become successful through decisions they make.
Very good. So Greg, we have about a minute. So in that minute, why don't you reiterate why people should really be involved in helping people in this way?
The involvement first of all, we're looking for people to be involved in the conference. We're looking for businesses to come to the conference. We're looking for nonprofit organizations to be involved in the conference. When individuals are involved in supporting people who have challenging backgrounds, who've been previously incarcerated, they form a network of support that provides a positive atmosphere. When people are employed, when there's employment, when people have a purpose in life, they are less likely to make decisions that compromise a life that they have put together. And also coaching. We are looking for coaches, and persons who are interested in coaching can contact me at the church, 607-239-4127, or by email. This is a project that is inclusive.
Well, I want to really thank both of you for being on the show today. Greg Johnson and Jeff Pryor from the Cornerstone Group. Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you do in the community. It's important for us to be able to be a welcoming place for people who have been previously incarcerated, and give them positive ways that they can engage with life, with work, with their families, and be able to create a life here. Thanks for helping us be a more merciful place. And all of you, I want to thank you for being a part of and watching us here on Encounter this week. And I want you to be good and gentle with yourself this week.